Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode.
I don't think I can. I don't think I'm there yet. I want to, but I just don't think I can do it. It's just really up to the person as the quote unquote organizer of the hike. I have to have that level of trust that you're going to be honest with me and tell me I can't do it. I can't do it.
And do you find yourself now, there's some people that you're friends with that may not be able to do some of these more crazier things, so you set aside time with them? Or are you still just focused on I'm only on this earth one time and I want to challenge myself and just bag everything that I want to do?
Well, I mean, here on the panel, I'm in kind of a unique situation. You know, I'm early retired. I don't have a young child at home. I can come and go as I please.
Yeah.
So if I want to take a trip this week with somebody that can only do 5 miles, I can take a trip this week with somebody that can only do 5 miles. If next week I want to do something, you know, really, hey, let's see if we can do Eagle Rock Loop twice in a 24-hour period. Then, you know, I can go do something with them. JR, I think you were going to say something?
Oh, yeah, something else that Todd does, it's pretty nice. If he finds a route that he thinks he's going to like, he'll scout it out. So by scouting it out, he can go out there and do some car camping, some light trail days, just to kind of get an idea of how's the terrain, how is this person going to do in this terrain, and things like that, to kind of like test the waters, if you will.
No.
Sorry, wasn't trying to interrupt you, Todd.
No worries. No,
it's nice that like the position he was talking about, that he can go do that. So it's
yeah, kind of jealous.
Yeah, but no, not necessarily that. But you know, it's nice to have somebody that's out doing that, right?
Well, and I want everybody that goes with me to have a good time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to have a good time. I don't want to be hiking 1 mile an hour all day when I can do 10 hours a day at 3.5 miles an hour. I want to push myself. I don't want to hobble myself with somebody that's really slow.
No.
So, you know, going out, like Jay said, going out and doing the recon, thanks for bringing that up. That is a good indicator of, okay, I've actually been on this trail and it's a little bit worse than it looks on the map.
No. And so it would seem that you would probably be more flexible to share your hiking adventures than like probably me, because I know I get 2 times in Guadalupe, or I have, you know, a couple of times here and there, and like that's mine, and like I want to go out and do like hike all of Caprock in a day, or you know, something like that, and you know, so I'm like very picky like who I want to invite.
I am kind of stingy with some of the routes I've built. I don't want to publish them until I've actually done it. Joe, I'm looking at you. You know, we've tried that one route 2 times now.
And, no, it's going down this year.
Yeah, like I say, I'm going to be the first one. Yeah, I'm going to be the first one to document that. Then I'll tell everybody about it. You know, I want those bragging rights.
Yeah, it's like climbing, first ascents.
yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah.
Joe, what about you? Solo versus group? Like, how do you?
I have resigned myself to do solo in the past. It has never worked out.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thankful of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I have always and it's usually in, like, when I talked about the Facebook groups, right? It's usually in the quest of getting information about the trail, and I'm like, you know, I'm gonna go do this regardless, right? That's kind of a way I look at stuff too, because like you, I get limited time. Well, I've created limited time, I guess I should say. So part of that is I want to go do this. And then in the process of looking into that trail or researching that trail, I have always, every single time it's come up on one of these longer trails, run into somebody else that says, "Hey, yeah, that sounds fun. Let's go do that." That's how I met Kyle.
Yeah.
He's out doing the AT this year, which is power to him for pursuing that thing.
And kicking
That's
butt
awesome.
on the AT too.
He's doing some pretty good time.
Yeah, he
It
is.
looks like.
That's
I
great.
think he's already in Pennsylvania or so. But anyway, yeah, I like I said, I have tried to do solo things and I have always failed at doing that. So Robin, my wife, kind of gives me crap because she goes and solos a lot of things. She's like, "Why don't you solo anything?" It's like, well, it just hasn't worked out. Sorry. So, um, yeah, I honestly, I prefer being with a group. Now, again, at the same time, it's knowing what group you're going to mesh with in terms of hiking ability and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of one of the things I like like about going with Todd and them is, it kind of pushes me a little bit. It's just I know it's at that edge of that ability, so it's a push. And I like that, right? It's that challenge. So being with people, I think
You're
it
welcome.
helps. Now, yeah, thank you. No, the solo aspect of it, I can't really speak to it a lot because I haven't done it, but to me, I think it would be more mental, by
Yeah.
far. I think it's important that, for somebody, oh, I totally lost my train of thought. Never mind. I just forgot what I was going to say. So,
You were canceling out no soloing. It was all mental.
yeah. Well, I was saying, I don't really know because I haven't done it. So I just assume that it's
Yeah.
going to be more mental. It seems to me like it would be.
Yeah. All right. What about you? How's that impacting you?
It depends on who I'm with as opposed to what I'm gonna do. I like hiking solo, but it is very mentally challenging. There's times where you're like, another uphill, great. Da, 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 you can put on podcasts, you can listen to music, you can do whatever, but the bottom line is you have to take every one of those steps. Now, I mean, if you're hiking with a group, you still have to take the steps, but it seems like challenging times are easier with groups because I know I've hiked with Todd before, and there's times where I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. You got this. It's not that much further. He's a liar. I want you to know that. It's not that much further, miles,
Mile and a
but
half.
that little
Well, that
encouraging,
isn't that
it
a relative
helps.
term?
Yeah, mile and a half. That's
Mm,
it, buddy.
yep.
Exactly. There you go. No, a mile's a mile. Todd's mile's just not. It's never been created. It's just it's to infinity and beyond. He's never ever pushed me to where I'm like hurting or I'm in pain or I can't do it. You know what I mean? He's been a very good gauge at knowing what I can do, what I can't do, when we just need a break, when we need to, whatever. It's been a huge benefit.
I like both. I do
Mhm.
more with groups because I'm doing a lot of sketchy stuff now, and so just from a safety aspect, I have Sam and Henning. They're kind of my ride or dies, and I know that no matter what happens, we'll get out of it. But yeah, I'm in a point in my life right now. Hopefully not that I'll always be here, but I'm very selfish, and there's things that I want to do, and I don't want to. I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to not waste the time because I enjoy taking new people out backpacking, and introducing them to the sport. Like I had 3 friends on the podcast the last or 2 episodes ago, and we did the Lone Star hiking trail together. So, it was a joy, that whole experience, building them up to hiking and then accomplishing the Lone Star hiking trail. So I enjoy that, but like right now I'm just in a season where it's about me, and I enjoy because I get to experience a lot of cool things and push myself. Um,
And self-care is very important.
yeah, and
Sure.
hopefully this is a season, and I'll go back to being less selfish and just trying to share the love of hiking and backpacking with anybody who would want to go. But yeah, right now I'm in a it's all about me moment.
Hey,
Well, you
you're
want to hit
sharing
your
enough with
goals,
the
and
pod.
that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're sharing enough with the podcast. Go solo. You'll love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be some plans upcoming for sure. So, all right, Todd, I don't know. This would be interesting how you're going to answer it because, you're like me. I would say that we want to challenge ourselves. But when you're planning a hike, how does special interests, like being able to see wildlife or photography, how does that impact your decisions? Or is it all about the challenge?
I'd say for me at least, it's 75% the challenge, and then maybe 25% the sights, stuff along the trail, wildlife I've never seen before. That was one of the highlights of this last trip, was I finally got to see some moose. I'd never seen moose in the wild before.
Did you actually take time to look at them?
I got a good look at each one of them, and then they took off into the woods.
Yeah.
Didn't even get decent pictures.
No.
But for me, it's all about the challenge. I love getting out there, pushing myself, see what I can do. That's just where it's at.
Yeah. Joe?
I probably got. I
think
mean, I like
you're
the
kind of
challenge.
like me, pictures, right?
Yeah, I like taking pictures.
Yeah.
I've got various reasons for doing so too. It's not just personal, but yeah, it's I do stop and take pictures a lot. Usually it's an excuse because I can't breathe or something. So a lot of that, but I mean, don't get me wrong. The challenge is it's probably like 70-30 for me, roughly. I do like hey, can I get that done?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I love it when I finish a hike and I'll take the screenshot of Strava or Garmin Connect, whatever, and I'll screenshot it and I'll send it to JR and be like, "Hey, look what I did."
Yeah, and I hate him.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
And he does it like, what is it? Oh yeah, every day. Yeah, every day.
Every day.
All right, JR, what about
Well,
you? Like how do these special interests, these types of things impact your decisions?
I love scenic things. I like challenging myself, but I also like scenic things. So I'd probably say I'm about 50-50. I love to
Yeah.
be able to take photos that I look at later and I'm like, man, I could get back on the trail or something like that, So I would say 50-50.
Yeah. I think I'm a hybrid between Todd and Joe and you. Like I think scenery doesn't dictate my hikes, but I certainly take a lot of pictures. Like I'll go usually every Sunday on the Lone Star hiking trail, and I'll come back with 200 pictures. And
200?
Yeah, and
Jason, how are you hiking?
It's a game that my wife. It's a game that my wife and I play. When I get back, I'm like, guess how many pictures I took. But like you start hiking and okay,
well, there's beauty everywhere, right?
Huh?
There's beauty everywhere.
Yeah, and the sun's catching through the
yeah.
trees and this and that. So the Lone Star hiking trail, from a beauty aspect, I've already seen it. It doesn't bring me out there to hike. It's because I want to do a 25-mile day, or I want to do this, or I want to try that, or I want to connect these. But while I'm doing it, like at the quad, or doing these things, I love taking pictures. And I'm
So
like,
you love the Lone Star for just the proximity, right? It's just so close to you. Okay.
Yes.
That would be,
And
yeah,
I can hike from 1 mile all the way up to 90 something miles, depending on what I want to do. And
I like to. I mean, just to jump in there. Sorry, it's that like JR just said, it's the beauty. There's beauty everywhere. So it's, can you see the beauty in the place you're at? That's part of it too. Is because like out in the quads, you'd think like, ugh, it's desert. But man, there's all sorts of beauty out there. It's just kind of different, than a lot of other things. So that's
in the
what I'm generally
backcountry.
trying to look around and see, hey, where is the beauty here? What's and maybe it's positive outlook on life or whatever, but it's there's always something to be viewed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take my quad photos. I have probably over 1,700 photos at Guadalupe Mountains, and I'll put any of those against anybody else taking pictures anywhere else in the world for beauty.
Oh man, they're incredible. And if you get off trail in the backcountry, that one thing that you thought was beautiful, now looking at it from over here, you're like, it's majestic. I mean, it's beautiful out there.
All right. Absolutely. All right, Todd. This is your section of the episode because
boy,
yay!
You spend 24 hours a day on this, creating a new route. What's your reasoning for it? What inspires you to spend the time you do to create something to hike on? I mean creating it like to the listeners, like he creates stuff. So whether there's a trail or not, it's nothing's documented. Todd is going to be the only person in the world to have documented from point A to point B what motivates you to do that, and you actually hike the stuff. So that's kind of interesting. So talk about that.
First and foremost, it's the new challenge. Being the first to do something. But more than that, it's getting to see unseen areas that people hadn't seen before. Somebody's seen it, but they haven't seen it in the way that I have. Just patching together these little trails and these little Forest Service roads, and maybe even a game trail, that gives you so many more opportunities to see things that nobody else gets to see. If you look on the map and you find, check out this cool canyon over here. This looks pretty deep and narrow. I wonder if we could get down in there through here. Well, now we're dead ended. But what if we went this way? And then, it's a big what if game, and start piecing things together and trying to come up with something that will not only challenge me, but let me see stuff that nobody else gets to see, or that nobody else chooses to see.
JR and Joe, I don't know. I know Todd, like that's his hobby. It's not hiking and backpacking. It's creating a route and then seeing if it's doable. But what about you guys? Have you ever created routes and then went out and slayed them? Or you just let Todd do everything? You're like, all right.
That's what I did the last time.
I have joined him on a few of those challenges, but I don't specifically look for that. Not necessarily. I mean, if it looks interesting, I'll go do it. It doesn't matter whether somebody's done it or not. But and if it looked like a challenge, and hey, that it'd be something cool to see, right? But I don't so much sit around. Now I will sit around and pore over routes, right, that I've either found or pulled down, just to familiarize myself with them a lot. So I mean, I spend that time on researching it, but not so much. I'll leave the creating up to him.
All right. And
when you hike with Todd, there's two things that's going to happen. One, you're going to learn how to read maps. You're going to learn how to create routes and things like that. And you're going to lessen your weight in your backpack. Those are the two things that are going to happen when you hike with Todd. I've done it. I've only created one route, and I created a 10.2 mile loop or something like that?
It's something like that.
Yeah. So I rolled my ankle and I thought, oh crap, I don't know if I could finish this route at all. Well, and this is the time I was actually messaging you, Jason and Joe, on that route. Yeah. I rolled my ankle and I was like, crap. Well, if I can get to the fire road here, Todd or my wife come pick me up. Well, I get there, now I have no reception. Like, crap. Well, if I get to the main road, then I'll have reception. I get to the main road, no reception. Crap. So I think by the time smoke clears, like over 15 miles, right? Something like that,
Oh, man.
Yeah, I created a route. I didn't do the route.
You did a different one.
I mean, I said, oh, that's nothing. Watch this.
Let me add some miles to it.
Yeah.
All right. So, Todd, just kind of bounces back to you. So how are you deciding the starting and end points when you're playing around and creating these routes?
Accessibility. I mean, is there a trailhead there? Is there a road crossing there? Is there some way to get to this? I love to design loops because it makes things so much easier. If I can go out, like JR said, and do some recon, and I can I can do this loop trail instead of having to do an out and back. That's all the more better. So that's accessibility is the biggest thing. Can you get to a point on this route?
And when you're planning these new routes, and let's say bailout points come into play, starting in the end, but like if something happens in the middle.
No.
I don't want to
Todd
give you
shaking
too
his
many
head
options.
no, so
I don't want to give you
Wants
too many
bailing
options
out.
to quit.
Yeah.
If you design too many bailouts, then it's too easy to quit when it gets hard.
Yeah.
Somebody else either quote unquote hurt themselves, or in some way give up. Bail out, schmell out. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have a couple. Bailout points are also good for dropping off a cache or something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too. Yeah.
You build a route that crosses a Forest Service road. Well, there's a good spot to stop and drop off a cache of water or whatever you may need, and it's also a bailout point.
Let's say you designed the route, and now you've taken Joe and JR to go hike it. Do you think that, or do you have a point of like no return? So like if something does happen horrific, in talking to John, he's a mountaineer, and he's done some traverses where it's not trail, it's all navigation, and you're crossing this glacier, just flowing water, like a little, not little, it's up, to your waist, and or you're climbing this, I don't know, this snowpack, and you're going over it, and you're dropping down, and that once you drop down, you can't go back. Like you have to just go forward. And does that ever come into thought, planning, or discussions that, hey, once we hit here, like you're down climbing, you can't climb back up for whatever reason,
right,
or just any of these things that we just have to go forward at this point?
It hasn't really come up in any of the routes I've done so far.
Yeah.
Other than like the one that Joe and I have attempted twice. There's a point in it where we can go down this, but I don't want to go back up it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that we can go back up it because I've done my research. I've spoken with a guy that has gone up it. I've got the GPX file from him. He can prove to me that he's gone up it. But man, that's going to be tough. This is a point of no return right here. But as far as, okay, once we get past this glacier, we're in the wilderness. That hasn't really ever come up. And, I'm not planning trips in Alaska.
Yeah. Yeah, but out in West Texas, it's not a joke. Listening to some of the stuff that you and Joe and Jay have been through. I mean, Devil's Canyon, or Devil's Den, or
it feels wild when you're out there, but the truth is, if I got out in the middle of the Lincoln National Forest, north of Guad, and broke my leg, somebody'd be able to drive a 4Runner in there and pick me up.
Yeah,
close to.
It might take a while to get there, but it's all accessible. There's no really long stretches. Do what?
I said,
I'll get you. Don't worry. You up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got me. You already have. Yeah, I think a lot of that gets blown out of proportion. We're so far out in the woods. If we run out of food, we're going to die. No, you're not. You're going to be hungry for a day. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, there's some spots out there on the WAD that you feel isolated, but you can still have cell coverage out there.
Yeah.
You feel like you're so far out there, and also you're like, I got phone service. What the heck,
Yeah.
So I don't think it's as far out as we think.
Yeah, if you're on an established trail, within a national park, there's some people that can come get a gurney and throw you on it and haul you out of the backcountry. You're never, I don't want to say you're not in danger, but it's not as dire as a lot of people make it out to be.
Well, like in Mr. Barry, like he
You
went
can
off
get into
trail.
situations that are, yeah.
Yeah, he went off trail, and by the time he realized that, like, Dog Canyon's here, he was hiking that big loop, and he just went off here, and Dog Canyon's here, and yeah, you know,
That's a perfect example of where I was saying it all almost looks the same out there.
yeah, and he was
But you know, you cross a barbed wire fence that on the other side of the fence it says "Welcome to Texas." Well, okay, you know, this is Texas, this is New Mexico. That means that has to be east,
yeah,
and that's where the ranger station is.
yeah,
You follow the barbed wire fence.
yeah.
You know, yeah, I might be lost, but I'm going to make a signal fire. I mean, you talked about that before in another episode.
Oh, we're having a Laminac control
You ain't
burn.
lying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You ain't lying.
Yeah, if you don't have a lighter in your first aid pack, well, you better put one in there now. So, Joe, Jay, JR, do you guys have anything to add with, you know, anything that we just discussed? I know Todd's the route setter, so this is kind of his little section.
Yeah, my app for maps, it just says Todd, so that's all I use.
All right, so Todd,
Nice one.
when you're planning this stuff, like, does distance and, I don't know, duration for what the route you're planning, do you plan for like a future hike, or just to have it in your Rolodex of hikes? So, like, meaning that you're planning, is it for a specific time that you want to go, or is it just, oh wait, I want to plan this, save it, and then in the future, you know, maybe do it? So, like, you know, when you're planning, does, you know, the distance of the route you're creating, or your time duration, does that play a role in any of this?
Well, I mean, if I go to all the trouble to design a route and do all the homework, you know, here's the water sources, here's potential camping, you know, anything, here's access points. Once all that's done, I want to do that route.
Okay.
I might not be able to do it next month, but yeah, like I said, it is in my mental Rolodex that, hey, I still need to knock this out. As far as distance and time, that's usually one of the biggest things about creating a route is, okay, I don't want this trip to be more than 5 days. Well, I know that I can do 20 miles a day on this kind of terrain. So that means I need to look for around a 100-mile route. Yeah, and daylight hours. What time of year are you doing it? Like I say, Wyoming, we had 14 hours of daylight every day. Next month, I'm going up to Isle Royal in Lake Superior, and it'll be 15 and a half hours of daylight every day. That affects how much you can do. So all those little factors add up, and that's what you got to look at is, okay, I'm setting aside X amount of time to do this route. Will I have enough time? But yeah, once I design a route, once I plan something out, I'm going to at least try it.
Yeah.
You know, I might get to the quote unquote bushwhack portion and, oh, well, crap, we're cliffed out right here. Well, that's when you pull out the map and go, okay, how can I bypass this cliff and continue on?
And so, Joe, and I'm just going to be the same question for you, JR, but Joe, I'm going to ask you first. When you're invited by Todd, how important on these trips, how important is distance and time duration to you?
Well, to me, not necessarily because of what Todd has planned. It's more
Our
for me. It's
jobs.
more, yeah. Day job, obviously. After hours job. family, a lot of those factors, right? We're not empty nesters yet, so I think when that happens, I'll yeah, I know. Lucky for you.
Yeah. But let's
Um,
just say distance. So let's say, he
yeah.
planned a 100-mile hike and, Todd's bagging 25, 30 miles a day, or that's his plan. And he goes, "Hey, Joe, I got a 3-day route for us." Like,
Depends on what it is, yeah. And
yeah,
I'm usually pretty honest about, what's my limits. You know,
yeah,
Right.
26 miles is the longest I've done in a day, and that's when we did that on the Centennial. So
yeah,
we pushed three days on that trail that were over 20, just barely,
yeah,
some of them, but yeah, I mean that was a challenge for me, obviously, because I haven't done that. But um, again, it's not a big deal, and pain is this kind of weakness leaving the body, right?
yeah.
In a way,
Yes.
to some extent.
Channel your
Um,
inner David Goggins.
yeah, I was. So, I mean, yeah, it comes into play. Obviously, if it's like, okay, I got to mentally prepare for, what we're gonna do on that. So, it's good. It's usually good. Yeah. But
The
yeah,
Right.
hard
my primary factors on time are generally like I have to get back to a day job. I got to get back to family. I got to get back to my secondary job. So,
Yeah.
it's all of that combined.
All right, JR.
That's the same with me. That's basically what Joe said is basically the same with me. Having a job, a family, kids, and then little side job hustles. It takes a lot of time, So I want to make sure that
Mhm.
when I say, "Hey Todd, I'm going to have these 4 days off," what do you want to do? You know, um, because what I have to consider is for Todd to come out here, he's still knocking out what, buddy, 9 hours to
It's
get there.
9 or 10. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Literally
he's
across
got
the
a
state.
lot of traveling. Yeah. So, and then if you ever look at a route that Todd put together, it's not just a blue line. Hey, this is a trail. We can do, there's a water source here. We can cache here. There's an outlook here. I mean, there's so much
Yeah.
work that you would be doing him a disservice if you said, "Oh, I can do it," and you get out there and you can't. So know what you can do, and push yourself. If you're normally doing 15, 20 miles a day, and he says, "Hey, man, this one day we're going to push 25," chances are you can be able to do it. But if you're
Yeah.
knocking out 5 to 10 mile days, don't sign up for a 30-mile day, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, Todd, when you're designing these routes,
One more
how
topic,
much?
or
Oh,
one
yeah,
more
yeah,
point before you. One more point before you do
yeah,
that. Yeah. I will say this too, though. Any route that he designs, be ready for an adventure.
yeah.
They've always been
Oh,
a blast.
no doubt.
What do you mean by adventure?
Well, thank
Oh,
you,
Type
Joe. I
two
appreciate
fun.
that.
Type two fun.
there might be some type 2 fun.
Yes.
There might be, some other
Mental
things, but
blockage of
it's
how.
gonna be one hell of an adventure. It'll be an epic
Yeah.
adventure. So, I mean, yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you
So
for
At least
saying
in
that. I
my
appreciate
experience.
it.
yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
no
wait to
problem.
have my first Todd adventure. I tell you that right now.
Well, we
And
almost had one in the Davy Crockett earlier this year
yep,
until I reminded you that it was Mother's Day.
yeah, man. I
Guilty
made.
of doing that before.
I think I have some TikToks about just making
Oof.
jokes about missing birthdays and kids' birthdays because of hiking trips, but in reality, hell, no. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm forever
Mm-mm.
indebted. So, Todd, when you're making these routes, does difficulty come into play? Because
Absolutely.
like when
Um,
I'm playing around with like Caltopo and I'm connecting this and that, like the connection part and oh, this would be cool. Like I don't really start to at that moment think about, man, how difficult would this be? But like when you're doing this stuff, when do you start to like, wow, this is maybe too much, or you start to kind of think about that kind of stuff?
You still do have to be
um,
realistic, right?
Yeah,
yeah, you absolutely have to be realistic, but I'm a firm believer in setting goals that are quote unquote out of reach.
yeah,
Um, if you know in your heart of hearts that you can do 25, 26 miles a day for, however many days, then why are you doing 25-mile, 26-mile days every day? Why aren't you trying for that 30 or that 35? Why are you settling for what you know you can do?
Yeah.
when you can push yourself and get that. I mean, it's a rush when you get to camp at night and you get stuck on your watch and holy crap, I just did 33 miles. Holy crap, I just did 33 miles. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like that when you prove to yourself that you can go above and beyond what you considered your limit.
Yeah.
Challenge equals growth.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
You don't grow just sitting on the couch.
And
You
that
grow
doesn't
sideways.
necessarily have
Oh,
to.
yes, you
Sorry,
do.
Todd.
Not in the right way.
Like I say,
Not in a
see
good
my
way. Yeah.
belly?
So real quickly, Todd, what's your Instagram handle?
Todd versus Todd.
Todd versus Todd. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's
I mean, I
exactly what you
love to
just
backpack.
described.
I love to hike, but I also love to cook. And that's not a good combination when you're just sitting on the couch, you know, cooking extravagant meals every night.
Yeah.
I'm headed up to Kilgore to go eat now.
Yeah. Right.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Yeah. So what about how the difficulty level comes into play when Todd sends you the invite? Are you looking at the route and thinking, or does he already know your limitations and you just trust him that he wouldn't invite you unless he believed that you could do it?
Yes,
Yeah.
no. Here's the deal.
Well,
He's going to push you.
a lot of times what I'll do, I'll break it down by day and I'll be
Yeah.
like, okay, today I've got planned 22 miles and it's 3,500 feet of elevation gain. Okay. The next day we got a little bit shorter, you know, it's only 18 miles, but there's 5,500 feet of elevation gain. You know, I try to break it down into bite-sized pieces where I can be like, I can look at it and go, JR can do this. JR can handle this. You know, I don't want to set goals that nobody can do, but I want to set goals that you're going to have to challenge yourself. You're going to have to dig deep and show yourself that, yeah, I can do this.
I don't think I've come across one that it was physically couldn't handle. It was, you know, for me, again, it's usually about timing. It was unfortunately.
Yeah.
The other thing is, me and Todd talk a lot. So by the time he gets a route done, I've probably seen the build up of it. I've seen him check out this picture, check out this video. Hell, I think I've already completed the route by the time he's done with it, you know?
Yeah.
Because the guy does a ton of research and he shares it with you to get feedback. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? So then when you get out there and you're doing the trail, he might say, hey, today we're going to do 16 miles, you know, because of the elevation. And you get out there and you knock out 20 or 24 or whatever it is. It's not set in stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just know that if he sends a route, I'm up for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
My man.
Is there any competition between you when you're on the trail?
So the funny thing is, I'll say that I'll pass him going uphill, and then he'll come blazing down me downhill. So
Yep.
that's about the only challenge.
Yeah.
Keeping up with him downhill.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, I'll kill my knees. And I'm sure my pack is probably twice as much as his pack. So
Yeah. So that's kind of goes into the next question. Do you guys, I mean, maybe in designing a route or accepting a route, are you guys limited or feel limited by the current gear that you have?
no, I don't, because I mean, the reality is we're walking.
Yeah.
I know it sounds corny, but we're walking, you know. I think the first time I hiked with Todd, what was my pack? Remember we waited at your garage? Like 50 something?
Oh, I don't. Yeah,
it was
I don't remember.
redonkulous. It was
50
redonkulous.
something.
Oh, it was redonkulous.
Oh, shit.
I am not in any way, shape, or form a minimalist, a gram counter, and I've always told Todd I'll never ever do that. And then here I am. So I'm getting lower. I'm getting lower right now.
It makes a difference.
I mean, I don't have any snowshoes in my gear room. The most I've got is micro spikes.
Yeah.
I don't have any crampons, anything like that. That kind of travel doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, I guess I could if I had to, but I'm not going to plan a route in Alaska in January. You know,
No.
that doesn't appeal to me. You know, trudging
Yeah.
for miles through the snow. But by the same token, I'm not going to plan a trip through Big Bend in August.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, right. Like
What
a
about you,
Big Ben 100 in August.
Joe?
Big Bend 107.
Oh, I'm
Uh-oh,
sorry.
he added to it.
Uh-oh.
There's a
What was
Todd
it? I'm sorry.
flavor and then there's the normal flavor. So what about you, Joe, and your equipment? I mean, you build a lot of cool gear.
Yeah, I'm always looking at like what can I do with something to make it multifunctional. That's usually what I
Yeah.
kind of look at. That's a big criteria if we're talking criteria for gear. In as much as you can. I mean, there's obviously some things that have one function and that's it. But
Yeah.
that's usually what I'm kind of looking at for gear. Lightweight obviously makes it's not like so all important. It's just nice because it allows you to move faster and further. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's kind of the reason, the reason for ultralight, honestly, and where I think it came from. So let's get this as light as possible, still have what I need, so I can just go further. It does making those choices, and that's where the multifunctionality I think comes into play. Is like if you can have something that takes the place of two pieces of gear, then that's all the
Yeah.
more better, right?
What company is it? Their slogan is "Take less, do more."
Gossamer Gear, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of the ethos right there.
it
Yeah,
is.
I do like that slogan they have. It's a good one.
Different gear setup for different times of the year or different
Yeah.
hikes. Like if I'm just going to go bag a peak, then I
Yeah.
don't need a big backpack. I don't need all of that. But then
Right.
there's also if it's colder season or if it's hotter, you know what I mean? And let's be honest, buying new gear is awesome. Oh yeah, we
Definite
all have
dopamine hit.
yeah, we all have a closet like that, and we all
Yeah.
have a great collection of Trekker Joe's water bottle sleeves, right? There you go.
There's a few of them back
Yeah,
there.
I'm to the
I got
listeners, I'm
more.
showing my gear room. Hey, Joe, real quickly, you're going to be at the Pedernales Farmers Market tomorrow. So, listeners, if
Yeah.
you ever go to the Pedernales Farmers Market on a Sunday, look out for Checker Joe's. You will have water bottle sleeve holders for sale tomorrow, right? Because I got to buy one in person.
Yeah, there will be a few of them. There's just a couple.
Oh my God.
Wait, I want to reserve one. Hold on, show it back up on the screen.
Oh, you want to? Okay.
I think he just
Can
picked
edit
up
this part
Joe's.
out.
He just picked up Jason's collection there.
I want the gray one, the silver
Silverado.
gray. Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
that one.
All
Yep. I don't have that color yet.
We just put
All
this
right.
one together. I thought it was kind of cool. Look at that. Lime and
Ooh.
yellow.
Oh, I don't have I had the black
Yeah. Anyway.
yeah. So all right, back to the podcast. All right. So I think this is going to be the last question of this episode or this part. And we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 topics.
Good Lord.
So, yeah. So, but again, I want to do this, monthly or every other month, whenever time allows us. I love talking to you guys. So, last question.
It's
And
for
this
you,
goes,
Todd.
yep, you are the root creator. And I wish John was on this podcast too, because John is kind of like Todd. He loves to create routes and traverses, but he's doing more mountaineering stuff. And so it would be interesting also, like Todd has some very good stuff to that you're like, wow, I never thought of that. What about safety concerns, Todd? Like when you're designing this route, does that come into play, or like you just design it and then kind of go back and think about it? How does that kind of come into this process of yours?
I don't want to be responsible for somebody getting killed.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to do something that's out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to build a route that requires carrying climbing gear.
Yeah.
I'm a backpacker. I'm a hiker. I'm not a mountain climber. I don't claim to be. As far as safety, like JR said a couple of times, we're walking in the woods. There might be some parts where the trail's kind of narrow, but then don't fall. Watch what you're doing.
Sounds so simple,
God,
doesn't it?
hey,
But it
somebody's
is
into that
simple.
tough love.
It is.
This new
Well,
generation, they
Jason,
can't hike with Todd.
you say that, but I am. Hey, if you can't do it, you either need to toughen up or not do it.
Yeah.
I can say this much. In the oil field where I work, the number one cause of injuries are slip, trips, and falls. And they've done studies and tests. And you know why? People don't look where they're walking. Hey, there's a tree root. Probably don't step on it or trip over it,
Yeah.
or a rock.
Yeah, that cantaloupe-sized rock in the middle of the trail. How about you not step on that?
I was talking to Mr. Barry, and his problem, and the reason why he got lost, he thinks, and he got lost, I think, one other time, is he only focuses on where he's stepping, because he's in his 70s and he definitely doesn't want to take a fall. So he's
Right.
very, very particular, placing his feet, and then like sometimes the trail it turns
tunnel
and you don't
vision.
catch it. Yeah. And then he's oh shit, I'm off trail. And so it's
Well,
very
especially out
interesting.
there, especially that part of Guar that he was hiking. When you cross that wash, it's real easy to think that wash is the trail.
Yeah, for sure. And then so for Joe, when you get a route and Todd's begging you to come hike with him, do you have safety concerns? I know there's a trust for sure. But do you kind of go through the trail and think about, I don't know, like bailout points or what could possibly happen? And does the devil's den come back and haunt you and no water? And
No, because I mean, even with that scenario, I know I can take care of myself. I'm not. If Todd wants to go do something crazier than what I feel like doing, I'm like, go for it. I'm not doing it.
yeah,
But there hasn't been that situation, hasn't come up. So, um, yeah, I mean, Devil's Den, even as like type 2 as it wound up being, it was awesome. It was a blast in the moment. For a couple of scenarios that we got into that were like, okay, this is, how do we deal with this, right? But again, to me, that was more, yes, running out of water, something like that is a safety risk, obviously, because if it's extended, that can become a real issue. But things like that are, to me, it's like problems to be solved. So I just kind of, that's mentally where I go with it. It doesn't. I'm like, okay, that's a problem. I need to solve that problem. So I mean, maybe that's just a guy thing or whatever. But my mind works that way. I think it's good, engineering kind of aspect to it. So if it's something in front of us that's like, oh crap, that didn't work out. Okay, now what's next, right? So yeah, I mean, safety, obviously, I'm gonna be safe. And that's why in Devil's Den, right, we decided to turn back. We said, okay, this is a little too sketchy. Let's go back up this way before we're on the news or what have you. Something else
Yes.
happens. So I mean, yeah, that's, as long as I have that similar comfort level with somebody else, it's good. I'm in a good spot.
And JR, what about you?
I trust Todd with my life. So if he
Yeah.
tells me we're going on a hike, we're good. Now, if he sends me a route, I'll probably look at it and look up like maybe some cool points about it. Hey, we could like veer off and go check out this whatever it is, but I have no fear of anything he sends me.
Yeah.
Well, in this day and age, cell phone is always in your hand. Joe's got a Zoleo. JR's got an InReach. If the worst ever happens, you can always contact somebody.
Right.
Do you think that facilitates complacency in the hiking community now? Having like you have a cell phone, you have these trail apps, so then maybe you don't need to learn how to read a map, or you have the Garmin InReach or the Zoleo, and then do you think that it puts hikers in more dangerous situations than what their experience would allow?
That's a really good observation.
Yeah, that could
Because
almost be an
people,
entire episode.
yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
people that rely, let's just call them the rookies
Yep.
that download All Trails and go out in the woods without doing any research at all. They absolutely can get in trouble. I've heard several search and rescue people that can't stand All Trails just for that reason. They don't do the research. They say, well, it was on All Trails.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all crowdsourced. You don't know how accurate that is. That's a really good observation. I think as you get more advanced, more experienced, you learn these things that I'm going to have to do my own research.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check this out for myself. But the beginners, the rookies, I think they could very easily fall into that trap of depending on quote unquote technology too much, taking it as gospel when it's really just a suggestion.
Something I like to do when I'm on a trail is I'll look around and it sounds probably corny to some people, and I've never really liked history per se, but I'm always like, what did like the cowboys and Indians do out here? You know, they didn't have zero drop hiking shoes and ultralight backing. You know what I mean? They roughed it. If they can do this, chances are we can. You know?
Yeah. I mean, John Muir just hiked around with a little sack of bread, or
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
there you go, right?
But I
But
think
yeah.
people were about 10 times tougher back in that time too, though.
A little bit off topic, a little bit on topic. I'm going to suggest that you three guys, on the way back from Wyoming, I listened to an audio book that I think everybody should listen to. It's called The Comfort Crisis.
Ooh.
And it goes into this in detail about how basically as modern humans we're so coddled compared to, you know, I don't care if you believe in, you know, a new earth Christian point of view or the millions of years of evolution. Our modern world is just a drop in the bucket of human existence. And our ancestors, discomfort was the norm. And we are so coddled now that the modern human has not adapted to that. So yeah, like I say, just little aside real quick, The Comfort Crisis. I'll shoot you guys the link. It's a really good book.
I'm actually
that's a
looking.
good
I have
point.
an Audible account, and I'm looking for a new book. So
Yeah. I think for me too, I mean, that's a good point. So for me too, that's part of like, I want to get back at, I want to get out and just walk, right? As you're saying, because that was like the mode of travel for thousands and thousands of years, right?
You know, we're in our air conditioned house. We walk outside to get in our air conditioned car to drive to our air conditioned job.
Air conditioned job? Who?
Yep. Well, you're the exception. But for all of human existence, we were at the mercy of the weather. You know, it's just it's a really interesting book.
and I think our comforts, and this is getting off topic, but I think our comforts has allowed us to disconnect from humanity. Like most people don't care about your neighbor. And before, when I grew up and I went to church, I had 30 or 40 other mothers in that church that if I misbehaved, they'd be correcting you, you know, and the community, we all relied on each other. When somebody lost their job, people were helping roofing the house and this and that. And I think, yeah, I mean, that's a whole.
He goes into that in the book. He goes into that as well, how communities, once the Industrial Revolution hit, people started moving to the cities because that's where the jobs were. Once again, he touches on that as well. I don't want to derail the podcast anymore, but that's, like I say, highly recommended.
All right. And just real quickly to go along with what you said, Todd, I agree with you 100% that you don't respect what you don't earn. And hiking,
That's it.
you know, everything is so easy. All trails, it facilitates you to not have vested any effort into understanding what you're about to get into, and you just go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and you don't think about what happens if I drop my phone in the water, and yeah, okay, it's a trail. Okay. But still, you drop your phone in the water, I don't have a map, or you don't print out a paper map just in case your phone dies, or you don't have a cell phone charger, or hey, there's snakes on the Lone Star hiking trail. What happens if you get bit by a snake? Like, you don't really understand what you're getting into. You don't earn it. You just step out on the trail and thinking, oh, it's gonna be just a fun day in the woods.
Everybody was a beginner at one time.
Right.
If you plan a hike and you go do the hike and the hike went smooth, you're not going to remember that hike. When a crap hits the fan, you run out of water, the bridge at Lone Star is gone. When something bad happens, that's when you learn who you are, and that's how you learn to overcome things. And that's when the adventure starts.
Yep.
I think we touched on that in my previous episode, talking about Joe and I running out of water on the route we were doing. Those are the kind of stories that you tell around the campfire on the next trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You don't talk about, well, we went and did this 10-mile trail and everything went great.
Well,
Yep.
Where's the fun
You
in
don't
that?
remember them.
Yeah. Let me tell you about this time we were in the high guads and the wind was 70 miles an hour. And we could hear the mountain lion in the, you know, those are the ones that you remember.
Yep.
Enjoy the moment too, you know.
Well, I want to personally take this minute right now to thank all three of you for motivating me to get back into backpacking. I appreciate it.
It's been a long process, but I'm ready to reverse your trail name.
See, I don't think they get that yet, do they?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and let them know?
No.
Okay.
His trail name for the longest time has been Reverse, because when it came time to start walking, he'd back out.
Oh,
well, hang on.
Man, shots fired on that one.
Well, no. It's not that I would back out. I wouldn't go. Something would come up, and I would always make an excuse or something of why. So I said I would always back out of a hike. It's not like I would go to the trail and not hike. I just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't show up?
Nah, you didn't see me. I just phone's on mute, whatever.
All right. Well, I'm gonna I want to give you guys back your Saturday again. You know, thank you so much.
Well, that'll wrap up episode number 1.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
right.
And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode, where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.